Hey, I'm Srini, the creator of Maximize Your Output with Mem. Do you feel like you have a vast library of knowledge from the books you've read, the podcasts you've listened to, the courses you've taken, yet when it comes to taking action on all those ideas, you find yourself at a standstill? Well, this is what's known as the knowledge action gap. And it's that frustrating space where you can't turn all of this knowledge into tangible result. Well, today I'm going to show you 4 simple steps that you can use to take your notes from any source, whether it's books, podcasts, online courses, even meetings you attend, and translate those notes into tangible step-by-step methods that lead to actual real-world results. We're talking action steps, not just theoretical ideas. If you're ready to bridge that gap and start making your knowledge 1,000 times more useful, you're in the right place. Now, let's get to the tutorial. So what I'm going to show you in this video are 4 really simple steps that you can use to take any set of notes, whether it's from a podcast, whether it's from a book, whether it's from a meeting, or even an online course, and convert that into actionable insights, tasks that you can actually complete so that instead of having just this huge collection of information, it becomes really valuable and actually leads to a tangible impact. So the first step is pretty obvious, and that is that you're going to want to import whatever notes you have into Mem somehow. For the sake of this video, we're going to use book notes as an example, and I like to capture all my book notes in Readwise. There are a couple different services that you can use for this, but I find that Readwise works well because it tends to integrate with a lot of apps. You can also save notes from articles as well as podcasts and other things. But the key here is going to be to get this information into Mem. And since right now Mem doesn't have a native Readwise integration, what you're going to do is you're going to go over here to export, and then you're going to choose the export format. And in this case, it's going to be Markdown. And when you get over here, you're going to have an option to either download all highlights or download new highlights. And you can also customize the formatting if you choose to. That's not something that's absolutely necessary. But here's another key step that's important. You want to make sure that you select what items you want to export, because otherwise what will happen when you do this export is it will end up exporting everything. So in this case, we have this book Uptime, and what we would then do is we would just say download all highlights. And what it will do is it will then save it to a folder on your desktop. And then what you're going to do is import that into Mem. So I've already imported that into Mem, but let me show you how we do that. So once you save it to your desktop, you're going to go over here to import Markdown. And then what you're going to do is just drag and drop that file that contains your book notes into this drag and drop field right here. And then in about a minute or so, you will actually see the book notes here inside of Mem. So let's go back to our demonstration here. So now that we've got our book notes, one of the things that is really helpful to do is to actually go through and organize them. One of the reasons I like to do this is mainly because when you give the AI huge chunks of information to work with, it tends to get confused. And usually my book notes are pretty extensive because I'm usually taking these book notes because I'm interviewing the author on the Unmistakable Creative podcast. So in this case, the book that we're going to work with is called Uptime, A Practical Guide to Personal Productivity and Well-Being, by somebody who works at Google. And I thought this book was a perfect way to do this because of the fact that she gave really tangible, actionable insights. But again, it's very easy for those insights to get lost in the shuffle. And so she came up with 2 ideas that I thought were really insightful. One was this idea of what she calls a list funnel. So once you curate the insights and you categorize it like this and have headers and you break the data up a little bit, it's going to be a lot easier for the AI to work with, and you will actually also be able to reference it much more quickly when you say want to utilize it to take the insights and turn them into something actionable. So in this case, what I did was I grabbed 2 sets of insights. One is what she calls the list funnel, which I thought was really interesting. It's a really good way of looking at how we make our to-do lists every week, whether they're our weekly, monthly, or daily lists. And then I think by far one of the most valuable pieces of advice I got in this book was how to sort emails, because a lot of us just go into our inbox and it's a giant mess and it's chaotic. But the way she explained this concept of sorting email the same way we deal with laundry was absolutely brilliant. And I thought to myself, yeah, I want to make this actionable and I want to sort my email this way. So now that we've got these insights, this is where the really cool part comes in. And that's where the power of Mem's AI also comes in. So what we can do, because we have these book notes already inside of Mem, we can then ask MemChat to transform this list of insights into a set of actionable tasks. Now, as I said before, you want to make sure that you're working with a relatively small chunk of data. One, because of the character limit, but two, also it's a lot less for it to process and it's less likely to get confused. It allows you to be a lot more specific in your requests. The other thing that you may notice here is depending on how soon after you try to do this, MemChat might come back and say, I don't have access to those notes, and that's usually because it hasn't indexed the note yet. But this has been in here for a few hours now, so we should have no problem. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to take this list funnel idea and we're going to have MemChat convert it into a list of tasks. Now, again, one thing that you have to keep in mind when it comes to the output from AI is that usually you want to have iteration. Don't always expect the first response to be perfect or exactly what you're looking for. So let's go ahead and give this to this AI, MemChat, and let's see what it comes up with for us. And so what will likely happen is that we'll see MemChat come back with a list of tasks for us to complete. Okay, so you can see here, it's actually giving me a step-by-step approach to basically apply this list funnel concept. And so basically, it'll even ask us, do we need help? Which is great because let's say that you still are confused by the idea of what it gives you. You can actually ask it to clarify certain things. So now we have this list of actionable tasks, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another mem, and I'm just going to call it implementing the list funnel. And one other thing that is worth doing here is to actually link it to the source, because then you'll know where the idea came from. But here we've actually taken what are typically just book notes, and now we've turned it into a set of tasks that we can complete. Now let's go through and apply the second strategy that we discussed, which is the email sorting piece. So again, we're going to take a similar idea from the same book, but this time we're going to take a different concept from the book, which is how do we deal with email? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take all of this and I'm going to go back to MemChat and I'm going to tell MemChat to generate a actionable list based on this email sorting strategy. And again, what we're going to do is we're going to basically get this list, and then we will have a way to actually put this idea into action. And so what I'm going to do here again is to basically create a mem, and we'll call this email sorting strategy. And again, what I'm going to do is I am going to link it to my notes for uptime so I know where it came from. So this way, there are a couple of things that this helps us do. One, we'll be able to remember where it came from. Two, if we need to go back to MemChat, we can actually remember what this was about because we know where it came from and what it was based on. So we could have MemChat expand on the concepts here. So now let's go back to our demonstration here. So basically in 4 simple steps. First thing you're going to do is you're going to import your notes into Mem, depending on where you capture them. And again, you can do this with notes from meetings. You can do this with transcripts from meetings. You can do this with notes from online courses. You can do this with podcasts. You can do this with pretty much any piece of information that could be turned into something actionable. Even very abstract ideas can be made concrete using this process. Then what you want to do is you want to open your book notes and gather your key insights, go through and highlight the things that are important because obviously not everything inside the book is going to be important to you. And then what you want to do is you want to use MemChat to convert those insights into a set of actionable tasks, things that you can actually do. In this case, what we did was we used 2 examples. And then finally, you want to take those actionable tasks and then you want to put them into a separate mem so that way you have them somewhere. You can also just put them into your daily task list if you wanted to, but I like the idea of putting them into a separate task list so they don't suddenly just die. But that, in a nutshell, is how you can take any advice from any piece of information and transform it into an actionable set of insights that actually lead to a tangible impact. So I'd love to hear from you. Do you have any experience with using AI to convert knowledge into actionable tasks? Share your examples. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will talk to you in the next video.